I think what these attorneys most fear and what most holds them up is the fear that, oh, gee, I don't know how to bring in any clients. I may be the greatest lawyer in the world. I may think I'm the greatest lawyer in the world. I don't know how to bring in any clients. Nobody's ever taught me. Nobody taught me in law school. Nobody at this law firm ever taught me.
Sharp strategies, sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome. You're listening to Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success. I'm your host, Tiffany Swedensky. Today, we have with us Robert Hartmann, and I'm going to go ahead and let Robert introduce himself. He's publishing a book that's coming out this spring, and he's excited to tell you all about it.
Well, thank you for having me, Tiffany. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Bob Hartman. I'm an attorney. I am a criminal defense certified criminal law specialist in the state of California. I've been practicing, boy, since 1987, so I'm getting up there a little bit. One of the things that has become of interest to me in the latter part of my career is networking and marketing and how I can help other attorneys who are stuck in the day-to-day grind of law firms they don't want to be at and a little bit afraid to out on their own. I'm interested in trying to help them a little bit, figure out a way to get out on their own and make that happen. So I've got a book coming out in the beginning of March. It's called Making It Rain: The Art of Building a Successful Law Practice. And I think that would be of great help to people thinking about making the jump.
Hmm. So, did you write this book because you feel like your practice was driven by networking and referrals, or why did you choose this particular topic?
The real interest started during COVID, actually. I got, for some reason, dozens and dozens of emails and letters from attorneys who had been laid off by bigger firms. And these are lawyers who've been around 8 or 9 or 10 years, and they're like, I need work. I'm desperate. I don't know how to make a living. Can you send me some work? And I'm like, how is that possible? And I thought about it and I sort of thought back to law school where they don't teach you anything about marketing or networking. And I thought a little bit about my own experience and how I grew my practice from essentially getting fired where I had 4,000 bucks in the bank in 1987 to where it is now. And I thought, boy, that might be interesting and it might be helpful for people. So I got interested in putting the book together and we finally got around to doing it.
And as far as networking goes, and you don't have to give away everything that's in your book, but I guess just like broad strokes, like what are the three main takeaways that you want people to get from reading it?
I think the number one thing is empathy of all things. Empathy in terms of dealing with potential clients and situations they're going through in their lives. Empathy as it relates to dealing with other attorneys and not being a jerk to them, but being nice to them and polite to them because you never know who may be a referral source. I think that's number one. I think number two is people should not be afraid to take the leap. In the world of AI and with what AI is doing to law firms and to young attorneys by taking away really a lot of the need for young attorneys because you can do the research in 30 seconds now for 50 bucks with AI. You don't need an attorney to do it. I just think there is a bigger need out there for younger attorneys to be able, the only way they're going to make it and be successful and make some money in their lives is go out on their own and be a sole proprietor. So I think that's one thing. I think the last thing is that it's not scary. It's not impossible to do. It's easy to do. The book has a checklist of the 25 different things you need to do in order. And I just tend to think that the world is going to attorneys mostly becoming entrepreneurs on their own, not working in law firms. It's too much work. It's a grind. There's no freedom. And then they're on their own.
Yeah. It's interesting how personally topical your book is and what we're talking about is to my experiences recently. I actually just went to an AI event, like an AI conference last week. And I did like a short talk and talking about how marketers could use AI. And one of the things that I hope I emphasized well, was that, AI doesn't replace you because there's so much that it can't do. And it can't, I mean, to be cliche, like it can't be human. Like it can't meet people. It can't go out in the world and learn about things. It can't attend events and discover new tools because it doesn't care. But you as a person, you care. And you can go and just going out and doing the things and not just sitting behind your computer. Kind of AI has freed us up, in my view, to do more of what you're talking about, networking, making real people and human connections.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that one of the main benefits to me personally of having AI do a lot of my research, which I check, is I have a lot more time. And so what do I do with that time? I go out and I network. I go out and I market and it just helps me scale my firm a little bit if that's what I want to do. I agree with you. I think the thing that you said that is really of interest to the listeners is something like, when you're a young lawyer, 2, 3, 4 years into it, you get hired at a law firm. You know what they have you do? They just have you write briefs all day. They have you do legal research. They have you write a brief. They don't teach you anything about bringing in your own business. And so what AI does is there are certain legal research platforms that are fairly well known out there. And they have AI platforms now, a little bit expensive currently, but you plug a question in there and you get 65 cases right on point in about 30 seconds, whereas it used to take you a couple hours to do that. Now, I will tell you, I have seen attorneys just cut and paste that into a brief and get yelled at by a judge. You don't want to do that. But what it does is it finds those cases for me so quickly, I can do that work myself. I don't need to hire a young associate. So I feel like it's really, if you look at the law, it's not going to replace you or I going into court and advocating. Nothing's ever going to replace that. Nothing's ever going to replace the human touch of signing up a new client. But what AI does is it makes the everyday grind of research so much faster. Then it's, what do we do with that time? And I would just add, we don't need to have associates anymore. So many associates.
Yeah, and that's interesting because AI does kind of collapse the typical like structure and hierarchy that we're all used to because, in marketing, you start out as a junior marketer, somebody who's doing a bit of everything and learning a bit of everything. And then you graduate into specialist and maybe like some people stay specialist and then some people want to move up to, I guess, marketing leadership, right?
Yeah.
you the ascent, like how we ascend through that is changing, and I don't necessarily think it's bad, although as somebody who really cares about copywriting and who's discerning when it comes to copywriting, I do feel like the younger marketers are missing out on that experience and learning how to write something that's good, because I've seen a lot of word salad of late
Yeah.
that I have to come in and rewrite. And so just to take it a little bit back to networking, because I talk too much about AI. So what do you think what do you think the biggest barriers are for like just your normal person to go out and do networking? Like what do you have to like coach people past to actually like put themselves out there?
I think for most people who are working in a law firm, it gets really comfortable. You're making a certain amount of money. There's not a lot of pressure, unless you're a partner, there's not a lot of pressure to bring in any business. You show up, you work 8 to 5, and that's your job. You live in a nice house, you have a nice car, and that's it. And you get really comfortable. And I think most attorneys kind of fall into that. Although what happens after 6, 7, 8 years of that is if the law firm decides, you know what, you're getting too much money, we can replace you with someone younger, you're out, and that's too bad. So I think what these attorneys most fear and what most holds them up is the fear that, oh, gee, I don't know how to bring in any clients. I may be the greatest lawyer in the world. I may think I'm the greatest lawyer in the world. I don't know how to bring in any clients. Nobody's ever taught me. Nobody taught me in law school. Nobody at this law firm ever taught me. They just want me to bill as many hours as I can. And you know what? I'm getting tired of it because I'd like to go watch my kid's baseball game at 2 o'clock on a Thursday. Nope, I got to be here. And so I think that's what I've noticed in talking with people is the big hang up is I'm afraid to leave because I don't know how to bring in any business.
So, as far as networking advice, like what are you telling attorneys to do like once they've made that connection? Like once they've shaken hands, made the introduction, met somebody in an event, like what comes next?
That's a really great question. I think that what comes next is follow up and a sincere effort to take an interest in that person's business. So let's just say, Tiffany, that you and I meet at a marketing event and we go out to Starbucks, we have a cup of coffee, and we sit and talk for 30 minutes. So during that time we're together, we're always going to talk about you first because I want you to feel that I'm sincerely interested in your business. We'll talk about me a little bit if that's what you'd like to do, but it's really more about you in the initial talk, initial meeting. Then what I would typically do is once we're done and we finish our coffee and we go about our way, I would send you a follow-up email or letter. Nice to meet you. Would love to get to know you even more. Would love to get together with you again if you'd like to do that and love to talk more. And so then there's a second meeting and now they really, really want to know more about you. And then things really get going.
I think, for me, because I'm not sure I'm good at networking now, but I know I definitely wasn't the best at it in the past. And it was always tough for me, I guess, meeting people and talking with people is like realizing, they're almost as scared as you are of them.
Yes.
I don't know how much that helps people, but like, I guess I approach these things, and I imagine it must be that way for young associates. You kind of approach these relationships with a bit of an inferiority complex. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No, no. Can you imagine if you're a young associate and you're thinking about going out on your own and you've got to talk to someone 20, 30 years older? I mean, it's absolutely terrifying, but it doesn't need to be, and it really isn't.
Well, and not to change the subject really abruptly, but you're an attorney in California, and so I'm curious to get your perspective. I'm aware that California made some pretty like hard rules when it comes to marketing and soliciting in the state. Like, I mean, can you tell me a little bit about that? Are you making any adjustments because of it?
Sure. So when I began practicing back in 1987, there were really severe restrictions on a lawyer's ability to solicit. And I use the word solicit. I think it just limited you in terms of you couldn't do certain kinds of television ads where you see people getting auto accidents like we see billboards and things like that. A lot of those things either were not allowed back in the 80s and 90s, let's say, or were really much more restricted than they are now. What I would say, Tiffany, is over the last 20 to 25 years, it's actually gotten a lot looser, which is surprising. You see these advertisements on television, and to me, they come very close to guaranteeing certain results, which you're not supposed to do, but they're right in your face. I mean, they're soliciting you. And there seems to me to be very little restriction. As far as I'm concerned, really the only restrictions on attorneys now when it comes to soliciting are you can't make a guarantee, and that's really it. I can't think off the top of my head of in any other way are you restricted anymore. You can write a book, you can have a newsletter, you can send a mass marketing in the mail to every resident of Orange County, California, and I don't think the state bar is concerned in the least.
It's interesting to think about because some people they see rules as like limitations. And then like other people, I guess, kind of see the rules as just things you have to overcome or problems that have to be solved. And I don't know, when a door is closed, a window is open or something like that. So I mean, you just look for new opportunities and you're very much right. And I guess I never thought about it like that. But lawyer advertising has gone through this weird arc from what I understand where you used to be able to not do it at all and
Right?
then you could, and then it just had this curve where it was really restrictive. And then it seemed like with the digital marketing era, like early 2000s through basically today, I got a lot looser. And with digital marketing, I feel like it just created so much opportunity that it was hard for like bar associations or state associations to really adapt and restrict. Because even today, like we're doing stuff like sharing data with Facebook about which leads convert or which don't convert. And we're doing that to hopes to get more information or better leads from Facebook. And I don't feel like there's ever been kind of a legal advertising rule that has ever touched that and that more sophisticated digital marketing stuff. And it is interesting to think about. I never thought of it that way.
No, you're right. I mean, I know attorneys who spend a fortune every month on what you just talked about, Facebook and different things like that, and looking at the metrics and different things like that. And I mean, they design solicitations that get into your inbox. I mean, it just gets right to you. It's right on point. It is absolutely a solicitation. If you get in an accident, call us. You don't need to call anybody else. And to me, you're right. It's a big change. One of the things, Tiffany, that always cracks me up though about this stuff is when's the last time you went to Las Vegas?
Yeah. Like the one and only time I went to Vegas was like, I don't know, like 6 months ago or something like that.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I go fairly often. I handle cases there fairly often. And one of the things you notice when you're driving in on the freeway is there's dozens of billboards for personal injury lawyers. I mean,
Yeah.
just dozens of them. And they're all different law firms. And then you keep driving and they keep repeating. I mean, there's just tons of them. And it occurred to me, Las Vegas isn't that big a city. Can there possibly be this many auto accidents? But that's what I'm saying is it's right in your face and nobody makes any bones about it. And you see these billboards I got $7.5 million. If that's not a direct solicitation, I don't know what is.
I feel like I've seen this graph somewhere. I have a bunch of marketing textbooks behind me, not because I'm showing off, but literally I just have nowhere else to put them. And at some point in school, I remember seeing a graph where it basically laid out like how people learned about you and how that correlated with how much they could recall or remember you. And the lighter mass media, it has like when it's repeated often and when you see the ads often, it builds over time. But just like one TV ad or one billboard doesn't help you like
Right.
stick in somebody's memory, unless there's repetition. But when you go up that hierarchy, it gets to, when you get closer to the top, it's like phone, and then maybe stuff like Zoom, although I think this book predated Zoom. And then finally, the best avenue to get somebody to remember you is meeting them in person and talking with them in person.
Right.
And, so that's why networking becomes like this powerful marketing tool that can, in some respects, outperform a billboard because you can buy one billboard on a highway and a bunch of people see it once and it not do very much for you. But you can, meet a bunch of people and develop all these relationships that become referrals, I don't know. I can't think of anything else at the end of my list. And I don't know if people think of it like that, but it's certainly something to keep in mind when we're talking about like how sticky, like how much do people remember you off the interaction that they've had with you?
I'd love to tell you a funny story here. Back in the 90s, there's a really famous sports talk radio guy who's on across the country. Really famous guy. He started in Southern California. And I remember, I think it was back in the 90s, I listened to this all sports radio station every day. And I said, boy, you know what? I'll bet you there's a lot of potential DUI cases I could get on an all sports radio station. I was just thinking this, right? So I contacted them and I said, hey, I go, how much to get this superstar personality to record my 30-second spot for me? And back then it was only $200. And so I
Nice.
remember meeting this fellow in this place in Santa Monica, and we came up with this catchy 30-second spot. Bob Hartman, DUIs, da 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 da. And I had it on prime time, I had it on mornings and middle, whatever. Guess how many cases I got from that ad at the end of the first year?
Oh, I'm not sure I can speculate because it's one of those like, okay, 25. I don't know. I just threw out a number.
2. I
Two?
got 2. And not
Oh,
only that, they were terrible. I mean, they weren't even cases you'd want to take. They were, "Hey, I got a DUI. I'm just looking for the least expensive attorney. Oh, you do DUIs. Oh, do you drink your?" I'm like, what? These were the 2 ads I got from a year of doing this. And then, needless to
oh,
say, that stopped. But going back to your earlier point, Tiffany, relationship marketing is where it's all at. And so that's really part of the thesis of the book is that what all attorneys need to do as part of their everyday life when they go out on their own is to make relationship marketing, networking a part of their everyday existence. Whether it's meeting someone and following up, whatever it is, you can't depend on radio, billboards, da 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 da. It just, for me, it didn't work.
you know. It's tricky when it comes to mass media and marketing. And I don't even know. I can't even speculate what the economics were back in the 90s. And I have a dog crashing my podcast by deciding to get up in the middle of it. But I don't know. Mass media works, but I can easily see a million different cases where it just absolutely doesn't. There's like, I live kind of way out in the country, and there's a single, I wouldn't even call it a billboard. It's like a quarter, not even a quarter the size of a regular billboard. And it's out here next to the gas station, and it's for a gal who sells real estate. And I can easily see that being a huge shed. She probably paid for it. It was probably cheap, and she probably has it for like 5 years.
Mhm.
But is she going to get calls from it? No. But like, she probably knows people who refer her clients, and that's how a lot of people, make money, honestly. Somebody who I talk about kind of fairly frequently, and I wonder if he knows I talk about him, but there's an attorney in Alabama who most of his cases come from referrals. And these are people who know him, but people who primarily keep in touch with him from Facebook. He's like a little local celebrity Facebook guy.
Mhm.
And again, that's just going back to relationships. Let me ask you this. I don't know if somebody's asked you, but what would you tell somebody who's just like, I don't like networking, I'm an introvert, it's hard for me. What advice would you give them?
So that person was really me until the day I got fired. And I really had no choice. My story a little bit is I think it was back in the early 90s. I got fired. My law firm had some contract with the county. The county went bank. So anyway, no more cases. So we have to let all the attorneys go. 4,000 bucks in the bank. So I was sort of the guy who you just described, Tiffany. I love sitting in my office. I didn't really like talking to people that much. It wasn't a natural thing to do. We all have friends, but that's different than relationship networking, right? So when I said to myself, uh-oh, I've got to pay my car next month and my mortgage next month, I got to figure this out. And so once I went to my first networking meeting, I think you said this earlier, I was around other people who didn't really enjoy it either or didn't really know how to do it well, or just as nervous as me the first time. And so once I kind of relaxed about it and just started taking it more naturally and just talking, not creating a script, and taking a genuine interest in what other people did and how I could help them and how I could make them look good to people who they referred to me. Once I kind of started doing that, it honestly became like second, just every day I do it. And I don't even think about it anymore. But I get you. It's hard at the start.
And for me, like, I spend most of my time here in my office. Like, I actually am making an effort to get out more and do more events. And I guess I would say I'm kind of introverted. I love talking to people, but I think what people kind of underestimate is when you get out and network, talk to people, talk about their other businesses. It can be energizing too, because you're learning about their problems. And I think learning that they're not so different from what you're going through. And so for me, like somebody who doesn't love, going out and socializing, I still come away feeling like some solidarity, some sense of relief. It's just like, oh, I'm just like them, and it's nice. Anyway, that's how I at least motivate myself to
But
get out of
but
my
if
own.
it's interesting what you said there because I feel the same as you do when it's a one-time networking event. It's a one-time thing, and I go and I meet someone, and I follow up with them. But a lot of the things I'm talking about too are networking groups where you meet either weekly or monthly. And those are different than what we're talking about because when you go to a group weekly and you meet, you sort of see the same 40 people every week, plus guests come in, or you go once a month and you see the same 60 people and you meet with them outside the group. The repetitiveness of it, the fact that you take time to go have a coffee with every member of that group over a year, it becomes much more than marketing. It becomes almost social. And I will just tell you, Tiffany, in my world, probably where I have my office, I subleased from a guy I met at a networking meeting. He had a bunch of space and I wanted to move and I subleased from him. I travel all over the world with people I've met in my networking group. It's become much more than that. And that's what I mean. The degree with which you become familiar with their problems and with what you can do to help them, it just becomes so much more than just business.
Yeah. Actually, that's something I've been saying to myself for quite a while is I need to get into kind of a mastermind group or a weekly networking group. And I've participated kind of loosely in a few over the years. And you said weekly. Do you have like a weekly networking group you meet with, or is it monthly, or what frequency are you kind of doing something like that?
So I'm in two networking groups. One of them meets weekly. And as part of that, I will normally meet with members of it or so let me take a step back. This group that meets weekly, I'm in a chapter. There are probably 60 or 70 chapters in my part of the state. So not only do I meet with people in my own group, I go out and meet with people in other groups of the same organization. And by doing that, I've just created an amazing amount of contacts. Now, the other group is monthly. And it's the same basic theory. It's run a little bit differently, but it's the same theory. And again, what I do is I make an effort to meet just not only the people in my group, but I go out and meet the people in all the other attorneys and some of the other groups around the area. I'm going to, again, Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. And guess what? I'm going to go to a networking meeting when I'm there.
Wow.
It's not just to save money on my trip on taxes, make it a tax write-off. It's because I'm really interested because I do federal work in Las Vegas. And I know if I meet a bunch of the attorneys out there, it creates an opportunity not only for me to help them, but for them to help me.
Do you have a sort of gifting strategy? Do you make that a part of like what you do, or is it just like in person?
Gifting in the sense of when somebody
Well,
refers you business.
yeah, when somebody refers you business, or do you send periodic gifts to people, like, or anything like that?
Great question. So attorneys are really regulated by the state bar in terms of gifting. If another attorney refers you business, you can actually pay them something called a referral fee. So let's say attorney Jim refers a case to me. I'll normally have a conversation with Jim and I'll say, hey, Jim, our firm offers referral fees in accordance with the rules. And the rules are you have to disclose it to your client and let them know how much. We do this, or if you prefer, I don't have to send you anything, or I just occasionally will send you a great night out for you and your wife, whatever you like. And it's amazing how many attorneys will say, I'd like to get some money back from it. And it's capped at a certain percentage. You can pay whatever you want. So anyway, referral fees are kind of governed by the state bar. You can only pay those though to other attorneys under certain situations. Other gifts, though, if someone refers me a case who's a winemaker or just a friend, typically what I'll do is at the end of the year around Christmas, I'll send them a gift certificate so they can take their spouse out to a really great dinner. So, whatever it is, but I generally thank people. And even though they'll tell me you don't need to send me something, I just do because I think it's a nice thing to do. It's memorable and they really help me. And I want to show my appreciation.
This came up because I was helping one of my clients pick out a gift for another attorney. And I don't know why that's always so hard for me. But some of my clients will do what you described, where we'll send like Christmas gifts. Others will specifically not send Christmas gifts and try to send it on another holiday like Thanksgiving or sometime in February, just to make it a little less predictable, I suppose. And something I'd like to get more systematic about is sending out gifts where we're personalizing it with the law firm, their law firm's logo, not ours. Because I've heard of that so many times, and I just honestly just it's so hard to spin up a program that can do that kind of automatically because you have to find a logo. Anyway, so that's why I was asking. I don't know why just picking out mass gifts is always so hard. What always comes to my mind is Bluetooth speakers.
Those are always great. It's just, you know what it is? It's something that just shows your appreciation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it can be something smaller, something larger, whatever. Something I do, Tiffany, along the lines of what you just said, is I make it a point for my best referral sources to touch them every 90 days or so. Not necessarily with a gift, a phone call, an email, how's everybody in the family doing, whatever it is. And I don't outsource it to someone else in my office. I do it because it's personal. So, whatever it is, a gift, a text, an email, as long as you're touching them every so often, that's perfect.
Yeah. I need to get better about that. I'm so bad about text messages. Like I have like 5 people that I text and then I never text my brother because he's a butt. Sorry. So you tell me a little bit about how you decided to or your process for creating your book. Because I know of a few, like I know of somebody who will ghostwrite and do the book for you. You just basically talk to them. Did you do something like that, or did you take like another route to getting your book written and published?
I think I did something like that. I worked with a very, very wonderful person. And simply, it was like being interviewed 15 times and being recorded, and asked a variety of questions that she thought of that would be of interest to people. And so we did that a bunch of times, and then that gets reduced to a manuscript, and then that gets reduced to a book. So that's basically how we did it.
And how long did that take you?
Oh boy. I would say we've been working on it probably, the book is going to be published in early March. I would say we've been working on it for about 6 months up to now.
That's not bad for a book, says somebody who's been working on a novel for probably the last 10 years.
Nope.
But trust me, that's not a good one, I'm sure. But 6 months to publish a book really isn't that bad. Like, I mean, it is a long time, but like marketing projects like that can sometimes take a long time. Is the person who helped you write it, are they like publishing it for you? Are you self-publishing? Did you find a publisher? Like, how did you do that part of it?
She handles everything.
Okay.
So I don't know whether it's me published. Honestly, I don't even know. I know that it's going to be in bookstores. It's going to be there's going to be a hardback, a softback. So, whatever all that means, I think there's a publishing company, but not 100% sure.
Well, and what plans have you made for promoting it? I mean, you're talking about it, we're here on this podcast, but what else are you doing so other attorneys can find out about it?
I think what we're going to do is we're going to do some podcasts, and then we're going to do some email things. Again, this is sort of like speaking French for me. I've never done this before. So I'm counting on other people to interpret for me. We're going to do some sort of email thing. We're doing podcast thing. We're going to have a big party when the book comes out. And just on every platform possible, we're going to get it out there that we're doing this.
Are you like, I need to check to see, but are you on LinkedIn? Have you been posting on LinkedIn about this? That would be a great place for that,
Yeah.
honestly.
I'm on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, and yeah, and we have it's really interesting because I've been on LinkedIn forever, and we have a great blog. We do blogs about criminal law, and I've been doing those for years and years and years. And it's interesting with the book coming out, the blogs are not so much now about what are the elements of robbery. The book is Some of the more recent blogs are about networking, and they're leading up to the book coming out. And we're going to add some things to the website and do some things like that too.
Yeah. I imagine. I mean, honestly, that LinkedIn was practically built for that exact kind of advice. So I'm sure it's reaching probably a little bit more people than the criminal FAQ content. I don't know how many criminals go on LinkedIn.
Surprised, I suspect,
I guess so,
especially the
yeah.
white collar.
Why, like, if you're white collar crime, you gotta be on LinkedIn.
You're on
That'd be funny.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having you on the podcast. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
No, I think we talked about everything, and I really want to thank you for having me on your show. Appreciate it very much.
And we mentioned a few things already, but where do you want people to look you up? I don't know if we mentioned you. What's the title of your book?
The title of my book is Making It Rain: The Art of Building a Successful Law Firm. Where to find me? Just the best place to find me is probably my website, which is open but going through some renovations. Hartman Law Firm, Hartmann lawfirm.net.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being on the show with me today, and we'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Thanks, Tiffany.